Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Adeline, and let's give a warm welcome to our amazing speakers today, Archie and Kenneth. Good morning to both of you. Okay, so before we dive into our discussion on AI in finance, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your background? Because I know neither of you started in finance, so I'm also curious, like, what got you interested in this field? Can we start with Archie first?
Yeah, thanks, Adeline. Thanks, Sean, for the warm introduction. Yeah, as you can see on the screen, so my background is actually in physics. So I think it was quite a journey transitioning into finance. And I guess when I was doing physics, it's mostly about making the science work, right? Like we see all these proof of concepts on like different novel innovations that potentially can change the world, right? They always claim like you have some new recycling method or some or whatever, right? But it's sometimes I just feel the disconnect back then. Like we have all these great ideas. Why is it not being implemented in the real world? I think turns out that implementation is a challenge of its own, right? You need resources, you need capital, like money, dedicated to bring something into and make an impact to the society. I think for me personally, I took the big leap of faith to transition into finance. I met like great mentors who guided me, and I pivoted into this field. I think having the quantitative inclination personally, like I'm okay with numbers, so that really helps in finance. And with the on-the-job training and the CFA curriculum, filling in the gaps in my knowledge in finance, and that has that's what happened, I guess. Yeah.
How about Kenneth?
Hi, and thanks, Adeline. Thanks, everyone who is here today. So, my current role is strategy, but generally is still mainly in actually strategic investments. And what got me first into the industry is because actually in finance, it's actually one of the fastest way to actually learn about the business world. And also is I felt like, in any career, I think finance is one of the fastest way you can get in touch with the C level, so you can understand what are the big problems all the companies have. And other than that, I think for me, it's quite a mobile career track because you're solving a big part of a business. It allows you to kind of like move into different areas of the business as well, which is what I'm doing right now in actually strategy. My leap from where I was, which is actuarial science to finance, is not big because there's quite a bit of overlap there. And one of the biggest, I guess, biggest areas, of course, mathematics. And you have to have a bit of like a number. There will be a bit more numbers driven to be in both areas actually, from actuarial science or finance. So I'm happy to be here and to contribute to the session.
Okay, thank you both, Archie and Kenneth. Now moving on, before we dive into our next question, I believe everyone here is familiar with the AI tool ChatGPT, especially for students. We use it for our assignments to help us generate ideas. Anyways, in industry practice, I would like to know about what are the AI tools that you use often and how does it help in your day-to-day work? Maybe we can start off with Kenneth.
All right. But generally, I think AI is not as pervasive as a user for finance professional. I think from where I see, the application is probably less than 10% of the whole industry right now. I think based on what I've read as well. But generally, what I use on a daily basis, because I do a lot of research, is I use a lot of chat GPTs. But there are alternatives like Claude AI and Perplexity AI as well, which has a bit of a different angle to them. In terms of like financial tools, I'm still using a bit more of the traditional tool like Bloomberg and Capital IQ. In a way, it's a place where you can find all the information you need. It's not really AI, but it's kind of like an automation tool. So sometimes when I need to get quick information about a company, I will go to places like this AI tool called FinChat, where you can get very quick information they want to know about a company. And actually, if you go to Microsoft Edge, it's surprisingly pretty comprehensive in terms of like the amount of information you get on a company. There's a lot of things that are summarized. I think much better than Google. So as a observation, generally what I'm seeing right now is that most AI tools I'm seeing are more for content creation right now, rather than finance. So that's my view.
Kenneth? Yeah, your voice is cut off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I think as a observation and a conclusion from this is that most AI tools I'm seeing right now are for content creation rather than finance. Yeah. Hello?
Okay, how about Archie?
Yeah, I guess the research part is really spot on by Kenneth. But if I can take a step back, right, I think for the investment industry, like fund management, etc., the way I look at it and read about it, of course, it's like there are two phases of it. At the current stage, what everyone is scrambling to do is trying to squeeze out more productivity, right? So it's not just about in the investment per se, but the whole the life cycle, the whole portfolio management life cycle, the operations as well. So things like everyone use like emails, outlooks. Like you have this offering from Microsoft, the Copilot. So they can do like the summary of your emails or have a good smart search of information in your organization. It's actually pretty cool. Like you have files that is being shared to you, and you use your chatbot, your chat GPT, but in this case it is the Copilot. So you ask, tell me about this topic, and it would scour through all the files that you have access to, and of course excluding those that people did not share with you, excluding those, then you come up with a good summary. I think that is the short term, trying to squeeze out productivity. But for the more medium term, the more future, so the role of an investment manager, a portfolio manager, is we want to make investment decisions, right? But to do that, we need to consume a lot of information. We need to do a lot of research. And one offering out there called Alpha Sense, they can produce different, very good summary. So you have to specify, okay, I have different sources, you have different sell side houses, I have emails, I have different maybe first party proprietary research. Okay, give me a summary of the viewpoints from these different sources. But so that's very interesting, because then you would reduce your blind spots. Maybe you won't miss out one or two of the research, and then you can look for any differentiating thesis, anyone calling a big call, being a big claim. Then you can zoom in and see, okay, what is it? Why are you saying this? Is it something different that you know that other people don't? Yeah, and of course there's also like sentiment analysis on the earnings call transcripts. As you know, like public listed companies, they do earnings calls, and you have tools that scan through every single sentence. Oh, is the company very bullish and very optimistic on a certain project, or is it very pessimistic? Then you can see the trends over time. Have they been more and more optimistic about certain topics? Then maybe that is a hint that something you can put in your investment ideas. I think that very briefly, that's what I see. Yeah.
Okay, it's really stunning to see how AI and also big data integrates in our workflow and boosting efficiency as well. So knowing that AI did help with your work tasks, so now here's the question. In your opinion, do you think humans will be replaced by AI anytime in the future? Can we start with Kenneth first?
So I think the short answer is for the next 5 to 10 years, I don't see it happening, especially in finance. But I do see it happening in other areas of the business function. For example, like a big part of customer service, a big part of marketing, especially in content creation. I think you can see what Midjourney or DALL-E can actually do. It's pretty impressive, and really seeing a lot of ads that are AI generated right now. So I think in that sense, yes. But in finance, the main difference for us, which is good in a way, because it is the accuracy, right? Because in finance, I think accuracy is very important. It has to be close to like 95 to 100%, especially in finance accounting. You need to get the figures right down to the dot. For customer service, administrative work, and marketing, whatnot, you don't need like 100%. You can go with like 60, 70%, and you can go with it, right? And also another thing is hard for AI to do is like making decisions. I think as a human, why we're there is that we have to be accountable for the work. There has to be a human for it, and decisions are often really complex, and there are many criterias or many factors that we have to take into account. And I don't think anyone will really want to rely on the AI model for that now, due to the complexity and also the accountability. And I think lastly is we make a lot of like private investments decisions. Not a lot of information are there in the public sphere, and I think because of that, there are a lot of like key insights or key information that you still have to get from people around you, like experts within the industry, that you have to do an interview for. So generative AI right now, I think it's still quite generic, but as they consume more information, is hard to say. But generally, I don't think so. Yeah.
How about Archie?
Definitely not. I think that, as Kenneth mentioned, right, the accuracy of the information, and as anyone who tried ChatGPT knows that they have this issue called hallucination. So the way it's replying to you, and then whatever they say is like macam yes, like this is the fact. Yes, if you have to believe it. But that is a pretty very challenging issue, because if you as a user, if you take that, then you take the information and you want to use it in your work, and if it's wrong, then you are the one that's responsible. You need to be accountable. So that's why I think
Yeah.
recently some of the keywords you can look for is RAG, like retrieval augmented generation. So this is when the chatbot or your ChatGPT replies you have like sources. They have refer to sources. So the big caveat is, personally, when I use chatbots, right, it's usually for first draft of ideas, like maybe idea generation, just to test out different thesis, like just to see is there a different angle. Yeah, like, and of course and also for coding is fine, because you want to write some Python scripts or doing some data science stuff. You would test it out, and if it works, it works, and if it works, then it's fine. Then you have to look through the code, right? So it's not the impact is not as critical, because you still have time to digest and see the output. Yeah, but in short, no, I don't think it will be replaced. We can be replaced so far.
So, okay, since we know that both of you don't think that AI will be replaced in a short time, and human won't be replaced in a short time. So, what do you think are the possible challenges posed by AI, and how do you see the industry adapting to it? Is there any challenges that human will face?
Yeah, perhaps I can start first.
Yeah.
I just hope that our listeners are not disappointed that AI is not is the magical solution to all your problems. But I guess we take comfort that we still have our jobs, right? Yeah. But it's just that every day you see like different AI solutions popping out, different articles, headlines that is very eye-catching, like very sensational. But it's just that at this moment, right, it's all about generating more productivity, greater output. So it might like make certain jobs redundant. So the data entry kind of jobs, but the threats, those are really the ones that's more fragile, more susceptible to this threat. But yeah, other things, I think you really elevate our output. Yeah.
I think
Kenneth, you talk about accuracy just now, right? Yeah.
yeah. So
Kenneth?
I think my point is more like right now, I think what we're seeing is companies are putting in billions to AI because shareholders like to hear it. So you
Oh,
see that a lot of companies right now are spending a lot of money like trying to boost productivity, because if one company is doing it, then everyone else wants to hop on it, to get like higher gross profit margin and whatnot. And some companies you are seeing, right, like they are sort of jumping the gun and cutting the worker upfront. I think it will be a bit of a mistake for them, because there are a lot of threats that are coming with AI. I mean, they're also beneficial for the companies, but generally, I mean, if you look at what AI is capable of doing right now, uh, a lot of companies, they actually have not really come up with their data infrastructure really well. So a lot of companies are just like assuming AI, you're just gonna plug in the AI, but the AI needs to plug into like a data infrastructure, which I think a lot of companies are still behind those like this digitalization. And so I think a lot of companies may face like, a lot of like roadblocks in terms of implementing AI in the future. Especially when they're just buying solutions and not kind of thinking about does it really work, right? Just because there's so many applications right now. If you look at some websites, right, there are like thousands of solutions, thousands of wrappers I mean, what I mean by wrappers is that people are creating solution using API to just connect to the ChatGPT or whatnot. There are a lot of solutions right now. But generally, for us, I think for us as an employee, right? If you see so many of this coming in, what can you do, right? I think just be calm and just play along. Generally, I think companies would maybe want to hire less, especially in the areas where I mentioned earlier, like customer service, administrative things, are data entry, like what Archie mentioned, those low levels. But I think in finance, they'll still need to get people. So I think there's a comfort there that I think for finance strategy, there will still be a lot of jobs, in the future. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you both, Kenneth and Archie, for your insights. Personally, I also believe that in the short term, yeah, it won't replace humans because it's just a tool. Okay, so moving on, especially in this age of AI, and considering that we have many uni students and fresh grads with us today, myself included, I believe many might be thinking about how to stand out and to be competitive in this age of AI. So what do you think are the important skills for the audiences in order to stand out in this age of AI? Can we start with Archie?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I think in the early stages of your career, right? So it's the key thing is the ability to do the work, right? You need to focus more on your core skill sets. And with AI, if you compare like 2 or 3 employees, assuming your company allows you to use AI tools, please follow the policies. Yeah. And if one person has the ability to use the tools, of course you can imagine the productivity will be higher than number 2 or number 3. So that is one key like differentiator. Like if you sometimes it's not about sometimes it's about knowing what's out there, then you can use it. It's like knowledge is really power, right? So just give an example, right? So maybe what you're trying to do is for juniors, right? Some of them we have more operational work, and you have to copy and paste certain things. But somehow person A can copy like 2 times more or quicker than person B or C. Yeah, so that really stands out. But I think still in finance, right? The key core skill set is still Excel. So your typical your VLOOKUPs, your pivot tables, you better make sure that you are able to do them. Yeah, your charts. Yeah, and of course you hear about data science, Python, but I don't think it's really required for everyone. But it's good to have. Yeah, but the key is like for juniors is you need to be a person that can get things done, and people would like to work with you. I think this kind of things it's very obvious for the supervisor or the manager to know, right? Whether this person is dependable or not. Yeah, I think the later stage of career of Kenneth, maybe you have more insights.
Yeah, I can share a bit more. I think I definitely agree on the core skills, especially in finance. What you really need. It's quite a. I think finance is quite a dynamic kind of careers because you need to have like a skill set in a broad area uh, competency, right? You need to have presentation skills, you need to have analytical skills, you need to have research skills, you need to be confident in presenting your ideas. You also need to have really good people skills, and because you work with a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders, and which is why in a way it's very difficult for an AI to kind of be that. Maybe you can in the future, because there are some AI who can pretend like they are human, right? For now, so those are core skills. You definitely need all of that. And to be good at it, as a junior, you can observe things around you. Depends on the environment you're in, depends on your mentor. Always look around you if your senior is willing, you always ask questions. Of course, there are certain environments where it's difficult to ask questions. Maybe the culture is just not there, and then you got to build it outside of the work. And there are a lot of like courses and resources out there that you can use to actually build your skill set. Then when it comes to the not so fundamental skills, right? Let's talk about maybe um, what you can do in terms of like building or differentiating yourself, right? So a lot of times when you look at a junior, we are always trying to guess uh, what is this junior really is, right? The personality, basically. Is this junior like a fast guy, a strong guy, have a lot of stamina? Or are they a very creative one? So if you look like, if you draw a parallel to a video game, right, you can see someone who has a lot of strength, a lot of stamina, someone who has a lot of intelligence, a lot of creativity and whatnot. You have a lot of agility, you're really quick on your feet, and then you have probably a lot of luck. Luck is more like, I would say, someone who's very resourceful and resourceful when it comes to networking or things like when you need a certain work done and there's no resources within the company that can actually solve a problem, and you actually have the solution to the problem. So when the opportunity comes, then you can actually hop into it, if you have those kind of skill set. Or for example, when your boss has this job where this project where you need someone who's really strong and someone who is really resourceful, right? And then they probably get one person who's like, has a lot of stamina, can really work on the project, and someone who's really resourceful, can find all the information that is required, all the people that they need to contact to. So so all these skill set, right? It will come. There'll be time where your opportunity comes, and then you can hop into it. So you need to have built a really good impression of yourself, your personality, in terms of like who you really are. That's how you can differentiate yourself in one way. And then in terms of like how you can, another way is more like how do you uh see the world around you? How do you read the room when it comes to a conversation or a meeting, right? I think this is one skill set where I don't really have when I was younger. What I mean by reading the room is that you can understand what's the conversation that's going on. You can understand whether you should ask question at a time, or you should understand whether you should maybe not ask too many questions at a time. And maybe you should understand that because everyone is kind of like, in an urgency, you move the agenda really quickly. So if you have the wisdom and the kind of like, the eye to look at the room and say that, okay, maybe now it's time to do certain things, do certain tasks, then you will be seen as someone who's actually way more mature, ahead of your age, actually. So that's also another way you can differentiate yourself. And I think finally it's more like, personally, I believe that you should always have like a growth mindset, especially in finance. I think there's always a lot of things to do in finance, actually. I mean, especially when it comes to investments, right? You always want to have like good ideas. But to have good ideas, you need to kind of be really aggressive in terms of looking at the opportunities out there, and you cannot just rely on what AI can give you. You need to go out there and look at what are potential areas, potential market, which is very interesting, and the companies that are very interesting and that's doing very well in the industry, and you need to do a lot of research. And so, because of that, you need to have like the kind of like a can do or want to do more kind of mindset. I think that would be very helpful for a junior. It may not look like it's going to be very helpful in the short term, but in the long term, actually, it builds upon your skill set. It's a skill set you can see as like a mini skill set where you add attributes bit by bit, bit by bit, and eventually you can be a really strong person who can actually beat the competition and things like that. So that's generally my view.
Okay, yeah, thank you both of you for your insightful advice. And yeah, I really appreciate the game analogy. It really helps to make me understand better. And yeah, moving on, we'll proceed with our second session where we discuss more on career-related matters. So branching off from the previous question, and since Kenneth also touched about people skills, we would love to hear about some interpersonal skills that you find particularly valuable, and maybe you can share on why do you encourage it. Can we start with Ashi?
Yeah, I guess what Kenneth mentioned like just now, right? It's all like building your own personal brand, and like those are really the core skill sets that you need in work. And you like it or not, in work, right? There are two kinds of tasks, like so those are the solo tasks. So like you are given one task, and you can do it yourself. You can complete it yourself. I mean, yeah. But the other kind is the ones that require collaboration. So this is where things get a little more complicated, right? There's the solo task. You can use all your Excel. You can Google all night long. You can ask ChatGPT. You can solve it by yourself. But when you need to work with other people, that's a little bit more challenging. And this is where the interpersonal skills really come in. So you need to be I think you need to be a likable person that people would love to work with you with, because I'm pretty sure that you have friends or you have done in uni like group projects. Let's like 20 people in a room. If given a group project, there's one or two guys that you really would love to work with, because they are very easy to work with. They are very responsible. They're very resourceful. They know what they're doing, right? So imagine so if you turn things around, you should be that person. You should be the person that the people think of when they have a new task, when they have something interesting. So this is when, if you can build that personal brand, so then when opportunities come, maybe there's a very exciting project that the CEO is looking very closely at. So they cannot afford to mess it up. Your managers, your supervisors say, okay, this is very, very important. We need someone on the hand. So who's the first person that you can think of? Of course, it's the most dependable guy, right? So this is where you can really step out on your career. You prepare yourself, you build the personal skill sets so that if and when the opportunity comes, you are able to grab it, right? So, but before you have that, you need to have the interpersonal skills. So what do you mean by that specifically? It's teamwork. It's knowing when to take a step back and let other people shine. Like, for example, in group presentations, when you have chance, don't be the guy that is always trying to be gung-ho and be in the front, just taking all the credit or whatnot. Like elevate your peers. I'm pretty sure some of you will have that experience, right? That if you're one guy that's the loudest, yeah, it doesn't really feel right, right? Correct? Yeah. So these teamwork, being able to collaborate. I think one small step for networking ability, right? The first step is to have the ability to strike up casual conversations with strangers, like make small talk, be interested in other people, but you need to be genuine. Don't do it just on the surface for the sake of it and just collecting. You just want to collect your names, just to drop your name all around. I think you need to build meaningful relationships and build a personal brand, and I think that can bring a person far in his or her career. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, maybe I think Archie covered quite a bit. So maybe I'll talk a bit about how someone can actually build the interpersonal skills, right? I think generally, what I feel like is easiest if you're someone who is like maybe a bit more soft spoken, more introverted, or maybe more you prefer to do more like first tasks that are a bit more solo, right? You can actually build your confidence by actually getting into like a hobby. What I mean by that is like, for example, you play certain sports or you play certain, it can be anything, it can be games or anything. But when you get into a sports or any hobby, right, you need to make sure that you are kind of taking the step to be better in your hobby. So instead of like level 1 or level 2 or level 3, you try to elevate yourself and try to go level 5, level 10, like you try to get better scores in certain sports. So let's say you play badminton, play tennis, try to get better scores, and you try to improve your stamina level, and then you try to read a lot of resources in terms of how you improve yourself. So incidentally, right, when you do all that, it kind of translates into your work as well, because you're kind of like building more confidence for yourself, and it kind of you definitely can see it in people who has all these confidence, right? They don't get it from nowhere, right? It has to come from a particular source, whether when you're young you do a lot of like challenging work, you climb a certain mountain and whatnot, there is a certain way for someone to actually build confidence, and it doesn't just come from like telling yourself that you can be more confident. You need to do something already and kind of like upgrade yourself over time. I think Archie can also touch a bit on that for younger generation.
Yeah, just it's like I feel like it's you need to be very engaged, like focus in what you do. Just try to make small improvements in whatever you do. Once you have like the core feelings, uh, like you're more confident in it, then you can really like bring yourself out. Like when you talk to people, when you go out and engage with others, you feel more confident, and because so deep down inside of you, you have something that you can anchor to, right? You're like, okay, I have this, but I'm more willing. I'm very willing to go out and learn more. Like just just reach out. Yeah, I think that's roughly my feeling.
Yeah, okay. So definitely we need to be, I agree with what Archie and Kenneth say, we need to be active and also be confident within ourselves. So to wrap up our session, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these specific questions. Because with the cost of the CFA program rising each year, so do you still recommend people to sign up for it? And how do you think CFA adds value, especially as the finance industry move towards AI direction? Can we start with Kenneth first?
Yeah, I think definitely the CFA program is still highly relevant, especially if someone wants to get into the investment or asset management. It does tell a bit about your motivation for the employer that you want to be in the industry. And so also just show a bit of your competency in the areas, because CFA is broad, but I think it addresses enough that you'll be able to be quite a decent investment professional. And yeah, so given the cost, right, I think I think the younger generation should kind of like take it one step at a time and not rush into it. Make sure that you have developed certain skill set or you have gained certain experience. Then you take the exam. Then you'll be more highly it's more highly relevant for you, rather than just jumping into it. If you have resources, you can just jump into it. But if you prefer like taking a more like stable route, you can make sure that you have a bit more experience. Then you take into it. Yeah, that's my view.
How about Archie?
Yeah, personally, right, I think the CFA program has really helped the career transition for me. I mean, I started my background is in physics, right? So I have no idea what finance is, what balance sheet is, right? When I first started the job, I have close to zero like accounting knowledge. But this is really, I think the program like has it's very wide. It's definitely very thick. The textbooks are crazy. It's very thick, a lot of content. but it's just like it provides a very good bedrock, a very good foundation of the knowledge for finance. So it makes sure that you know a little bit about every single thing, and that really helps. So that to the way I look at it is domain knowledge, right? So let's say you want to be a quant, a numbers guy. So there are like quant investment firms out there, but they only look at statistics. They look at stocks, they look at the ratios, and some of them have no idea what the actual financial background, the reasoning behind the numbers. So that is something that the CFA program, I think, has helped. But and also it's sort of like a badge, a medal of honor. Like you've been through this very arduous journey. Yeah, you are really dedicated. You show to your peers, to your bosses that you really want to propel your career in this field. So that is why you took on this difficult task and you have done it. Yeah, I think that's a good sign. But coming back to AI, right? I think AI is still just a tool, because I think the branding for Microsoft does it very well. They call it co-pilot. So it's not autopilot, right? You are still the pilot. You just have extra tools to help you drive your plane or your car better. I think like in the future, right? Even if you have a futuristic full self-driving like Tesla or whatever, or any Chinese model, right? You still need to know where you want to go. You still need to tell the car to drive it. And if anything happens, I'm pretty sure there will be a manual override button that the humans need to take charge. So how do we make sure that the human is capable of doing it? You cannot fully delegate everything to your AI tool. So you need to know the basics. I think this is why, like in education, in your primary, secondary school, we still do maths, right? Like you still know how to add numbers, although we have calculators, but we still have to go through the process of learning how to calculate. Yeah, that's roughly it.
Yeah, before moving to our Q&A session, and there is one participant mentioned quite related to what Archie talked about just now. So he said, AI should augment human intelligence and not replace to it. So can I have some opinions from Kenneth?
Yeah, I mean, I
What?
definitely agree on that part. Generally, from a personal point of view, I agree with that. But what corporates are actually doing is that they're thinking of replacing human for the. I mean, this is the objective of a company, right? If there's a function that they can actually replace, for example, things like if you look at call centers, they're being automated into automated voice. Now there's like chatbots and whatnot. Although it's not good enough, they're just gonna proceed with it. So there are certain functions where I think business function where AI will definitely replace, but I don't when it comes to like really complex decisions that need to be made and you need to be accountable for it, especially in finance or strategy. I think is gonna be a bit difficult for AI to kind of like disrupt it that much. And that's where AI will actually augment the human intelligence. So yeah, that's my view.
Okay. So thank you for both of your perspectives, and that brings us to the end of this session. And now we'll open our floor for the Q&A. So we'll collect some questions from the chat box.
Okay, so for the first question is from Shami Rastam. Okay, so he's asking, how do entry-level executives introduce AI to seniors within the company? Yeah, so.
Yeah, but perhaps I can start first. I think sometimes it's like you need to share with them what's out there, right? And then you need to demonstrate to them that it's really doable. I think that depends on the company, but some would have like platforms like you can maybe perhaps if it's okay, you can just blast an email to or just speak casually to your manager, say, hey, I know that we have this task, and this is the process that is a function of our department, say, okay. So but I heard that we have this tool that can really make this simpler. and we will do it faster. They will need less people. So then you get their attention, right? So then you will try, then maybe if he or she is okay with it, then you can try to implement it and get feedback. I think then it can really snowball if it really works. But you have to also be understanding that what are the concerns that the seniors have. Maybe it's security, maybe they think that there's some gap in it. I think that's where we have to communicate clearly. You have to get what's the biggest concern, what's the biggest pushback towards implementing it. Yeah, that's off the top of my head.
Yeah. For me, as you need to look from the point of view of the executive, right? A lot of times when you look at this, especially when the AI tool costs a lot of money, a lot of times it's all about ROI. Does it generate revenue? Does it have any cost saving? Actually, that's on top of the mind of every executive. If it doesn't do any of that, you already lost the battle. Like when you present an AI, because the AI is not just to there just to be like a fancy tool. It has to increase the productivity in a particular way for the company. Because can you imagine, like nowadays there's so many AI tools. If you introduce like another one, what would the senior professional think if you don't come in with a proposal where you say that, okay, this is going to increase productivity by this much and it's going to save our cost by this much. So I think that's in short how you can introduce the AI to seniors. Or a lot of times you need to prioritize what they think is the most important thing, which is actually the bottom line.
Yeah, okay. So there is another question from Shami as well. Um, the question is that any concerns of security using AI to scout and extract PNC data within the company? So is there any security concerns?
Yeah,
Can we start with
of course,
Actually, yeah.
definitely. Yeah, the policy, so this is up to the digital strategy team, right? So they need to have guardrails on implementation. I think right now, even before AI, a lot of the company data is like it's definitely strictly protected from the environment. Right? You can't extract it out, of course, right? This is the life and blood of the company, and when using AI, you need to. So I think we have heard of like security breaches. I think it was one of the companies that the coders were taking company code and throw it into ChatGPT to order to fix it, and that like inadvertently like leaked out how their code works, right? So please comply with your company policies, and within some of the implementation method, as I mentioned, like the Microsoft one. So they what they claim is because a lot of companies are already on the Microsoft suite already. So whatever like their Copilot offerings is constrained within the sandbox of the data available within the organization. So that is one way they market and they sell their product. But if we were to use some of the products, of course, this needs the proper due diligence needs to be done, whether it is in line with your company policy or not. Yeah, definitely a big concern.
How about
Yeah,
Kenneth?
I think generally there is a big concern. Definitely, you're punching like confidential data, especially if you do certain investments or certain areas, right? And then you key in something that is actually highly confidential, and the LLM, I mean, but the AI is picking up that, and that's not going to be something that is very good lah for you. And also, like a lot of AI tools there out there, we're not so sure like how the data are being passed through all those entities. And so for us, I think for me personally, I don't really put in like a lot of like personal data. And for the companies who uses it, I think they probably try to do it like a more private sort of setting rather than a public sort of setting to be a bit more secure. Yeah, generally it is a very big concern actually. So in a way, it kind of slows down a bit of the AI development, which is good for the people. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So thank you both for your responses. Now moving on to our third question. Yeah, it's about for the finance analysts, how should we approach AI to avoid redundancy? And how do you think the analyst role will evolve with AI assistance?
I guess this is actually, I have a funny story to it. Yeah, I think one of my colleagues have shared to me when he or she first started the career, right? So the task was to become an equity analyst. So then your role is actually to project the financials. Then after that, come up with so just basic 101, right? So you take your balance sheet, your income statements, then you project your future revenue and all that. Then you build a 3-statement model. Then you come up with your earnings. Then with your earnings, you sort of like assign a value to a company. So when he was first tasked to it as a financial analyst, so the seniors tell him, okay, you need to make a bond model for this company. So then he was like, okay, model. So what software do I need? What fancy software do I need? Like he was thinking the likes of like engineering, like you're trying to create a 3D model of a car or some fluid simulation, but he was like, what? Is it an Excel model? Yeah. But although it's just an Excel model, I think the role of the financial analyst is really to understand how everything flows together and is your assumptions. That is really the key in how you do your projections. And the assumption that you put, like say you think the revenue will grow by X% every quarter. Why? That is the judgment part. So with AI, right? So the AI won't tell you like, okay, 5% is just right, 6% is too high. So this is the part where you still need the judgment. But with AI, this role won't be replaced, at least in the near future. But what I do see is to come up with these numbers, right? When you do the role of financial analyst, you would read a lot, you would consume a lot of information, and sometimes you can't afford to spend a whole like 2-3 months just for one company. Depending on how deep you go and your task, but time is a constraint. And with AI tools, you can have a quick summary of what's out there. And I think one pretty cool thing is sometimes you might want to extract a certain table or data from a report that you read. And traditionally, what you have to do is you would have both sides. You have your Excel on your right, your report on your left. Then you're trying to copy the numbers one by one, right? So there are certain AI tools out there. You can just take a screenshot of the table of the report that you're reading, and you can translate into Excel just like that. Of course, you probably have to verify the numbers, but at least you don't have to spend like 15 minutes just trying to copy every single number from a huge table into Excel. Yeah, that's off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think my view is more like a more backward kind of view, is in the sense that as a financial analyst or any analyst in the finance industry or saving strategy, you personally you need to consume the like thousands of pages of data, and you need to read through all of them, because AI may help you summarize, but when someone asks you a particular question about a company and you have to refer to the AI, it's not going to reflect really well on the person. So generally, you still need to like do a lot of readings, try to understand a particular topic really well. I think the summarized part is more like when you just need to get like an idea about something, which is like what Archie mentioned. It's just only the very beginning part of your task. But as you go deeper, you still need to use a lot of like manual brain power tasks actually over time. And how AI is going to help you for now is really just to give you like a good glimpse of how your work can be, or give you an idea or brainstorming to improve the speed of what you're doing. Maybe in the future, I think you're expected to do things a bit faster. But generally, as a person, as a good financial analyst, you need to understand the insights of the company or the industry really well, and not just relying on AI. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can I just to add, right? I think one common tool that is being used by analysts is like they have meeting summaries. Like when you have face-to-face meetings, they would open like recordings. Like you use the transcribers to capture the meetings. But just a big caveat here: whoever wants to use it, you probably should get consent from the meeting participants. Like I'm not sure about the legality of it. Please don't record the entire meeting without consent. Yeah, sometimes there might be complications. Yeah, and also if you want, that's one of the good tools that is actually they use it quite often because you can summarize notes, summarize your meeting notes. But that comes with pros and cons. Sometimes I think in the early stages of your careers, the process of sitting through a meeting, taking down notes, rephrase it in your own words, organize it properly is part of the learning of absorbing and internalizing the contents. So if you rely too much on your AI tools for a summary, you would lose this opportunity to really practice. Because I'm pretty sure you have experiences where you listen to different calls or meetings, then the ones that you take notes and not just taking down the notes, but to organize them into your own words and clean it up. That is probably the meeting that you remember the most, as opposed to the ones that you're just listening it in. It's just one ear in, one ear out. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, agree. Okay, there's another questions here. There is a lot of disruption in the traditional asset management world. So from passive investing, sorry, ETF, etc., and now factor investing and quant investing. Would this shift present as a threat or an opportunity for traditional asset managers who are still looking at investments from the value investing lens? And how can traditional asset managers use AI tools to capture alpha? Can we start with Kenneth first?
This is not my domain and expertise, but generally when we look like at value investing, we look a lot at the intrinsic value of the company and where we think the company will be heading in the future. There's a lot of judgment requires. I think a lot more qualitative for once you establish the quantitative part, which is intrinsic value. You look at the catalyst, you look at where how investors will look at this particular stock in the future, this potential of the company. I think sorry, someone is yeah. So I think once you've done that, then you can probably establish something, like a goal for what you want to do about this particular stock. So generally, for me, it's still a quite a manual process. I'm not sure about Archie.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, Kenneth. I think this one is more on my field. If I want, I can talk all day long for this, but just a bit of background. So before I transitioned for an fundamental portfolio manager, I was actually looking for the quant side. So we do have like models to pick and select and invest into stocks. So we talk about passive investing, ETFs. So these are really shops or investment houses that is very lean. So you don't need an army of financial analysts like looking company by company. So in the typical setup, a traditional house, one analyst might be looking at depending on how intense, they might look at like 10, 20, 30 stocks. Okay, so meaning that one person would have different Excel models for each different company. So these are under the coverage, and you're expected to have a view and do deep down analysis on the individual companies. So then after that, we on the flip side, we have the factor investing or the quant guys. So these guys use data. You look at fundamental data as well as a price data or a volume, the trading related information from the stock market, and they will make their investment decisions on those. But in reality, right, both quants and fundamentals, they still look at the typical financial ratios, like your price to earnings, your growth, your return on equity, all those. They are still looking at the same thing. It's just that they look at different lens. Yeah. So this sometimes the lines between the two sides will be a little bit blurred. And for traditional asset managers, right? If they want to use they want to use AI to capture alpha. I think the first step, what's out there is operational alpha, they call it. So this is where what Kenneth mentioned is the P&L, is your OPEX, your operating expenditure. You want your team to be smaller. You don't want to spend so much. You don't want to hire so many. You don't want to spend too much money on systems. you find a good balance. It's rather finding a good balance between the people you hire as well as the systems you subscribe to, and then you carry out your business. So that's the operational alpha, and then there's the informational part, where the traditional asset managers really, I think one key point is really the summarizer, the AI tools that can summarize what's out there, and that if, because the idea is like this: if your research is better, meaning you have better information, you can make more informed investment decisions. So over time, that should give better alpha. So just to give a background, alpha is basically outperformance in terms of your fund, of your investment fund. It needs to outperform your benchmark. So the degree of that, we call that alpha. Yeah. But still, if you want to talk about the specifics, I think we have to constrain within this meeting. Let's do it on a separate session.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, moving on to the next question. This one is a bit deviated from our AI. Anyway, so it's, how would you view the future of sustainable finance in Malaysia?
Can we start with Kenneth first? I think sustainable finance.
I'm not actually sure what this is finance. I mean, I will assume that we are talking about things that are more like green finance and financing for something that is more sustainable.
On ESG.
ESG. I think it's more relevant on for Archie in terms of, like, ESG for I think there's the ESG index for stocks right now, but I don't really have much view on this, because it's a very broad question. But generally, my view is that if you talk about like carbon pricing, and all the related like solar investment and whatnot in Malaysia, I think it's all how do you put it, policy driven. And right now, I think the government is not really too aggressively in terms of like carbon pricing. I think a lot of our energy is still driven by coal, not really by the sort of like green energy, except for like, what's it called? Yeah, that I think right now is not there is not so much of a bullish view in terms of like sustainable finance in Malaysia, but I think we are still in a developing market where I think it's more relevant for probably for the European market for now. Yeah.
I guess just to add a little bit on this, I think for asset owners, right, like the funds themselves. So the first step is we need to know like what is the carbon that we are really financing. So it's like let's say you own a company, you have a fund, and this fund owns 10% of a certain company, and this company is emitting, say, 100 tons of carbon per year. So by owning 10% of a company that emits 100 tons of carbon per year, you're effectively financing 10 tons of carbon per year, right? So with that logic, you would sum up all of the holdings that you have. So then you have a number. So it's like, this is my fund size, and the companies that I own, in total, I am funding this amount of carbon. So the idea is that that number should reduce over time, because we want to encourage either the companies to be more green, to invest in more greener solutions, or change the way they behave, or in the worst case scenario, we will have to divest from these companies, because we know that we need to reduce the overall carbon emissions for the country as a whole. So that is one way that the capital markets or the financial markets is trying to push this clean behavior onto the companies. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
roughly the high level. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on that also, it's if you look at financing in terms of like cars, right? There's also financing for EV cars and also ICE cars. I mean combustion engine cars. I think you can find that EV cars probably have a cheaper financing rate for, especially if you look at like Maybank or CIMB. I think that's another way to encourage you to actually own more EV. I mean, own more electric vehicle, and probably for the bank as well. There's like lower cost in terms of like all these ESG requirement for the banks. And generally, if you for me, I think if you look at the even bigger lens, if you look at like, I mean, not from investment point of view, if you look at a data center investment that's coming into Malaysia right now, I think they're predicting almost 2 gigawatts of energy being produced, and a lot of it is still not really green per se. I'm not sure what's the implication for that, because that is in a way it's not really helping the green initiative, but it's good for the country generally. So there has to be a balance view there.
Yeah, okay. So next is a question related matters. What was the biggest challenges? What was the biggest challenge when you first started your career?
Yeah, perhaps I start
Okay.
first. The biggest challenge when I first started my career, right, I think is to build a personal brand, because you might be very comfortable in whatever you do, but you need to be out there. People need to know you, and once that sort of like when you might have one or two small wins, and once that like happens, it will really snowball, and then the momentum will push you forward. Yeah.
How about Kenneth? I see you're thinking.
I think there are a lot of challenges. I think basically for me is if you balance between strengths and weaknesses. As someone who's just starting out in the job market, right, definitely have more weaknesses, and there's just so many things to kind of work with, right? You need to work on your fundamentals. You need to work on your sort of like professional communication skills. You need to work on sort of like how do you analyze the company, and how do you present things to the boss? How do you read uh, the room? What kind of like durables that you think is of good quality enough, and things like that. So there are actually the challenges is more like to kind of like work on your weaknesses rather than working on strengths. I think for personal branding you work on your strengths, but when it comes to like the work itself, you work on your weaknesses. Yeah, I think that's the actually the biggest challenge. And yeah, like what Ashish said, is you build a momentum behind it. As the more you do it, I mean, even you look at any athletes out there, right? They do like a lot of practices every single day, non-stop, and it's not just like they practice like once a week, and they assume they'll be good at it. They do it like consistently every single day. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just to add, right, look for mentors, because I remember one of the biggest moment I saw is like one of the seniors. He was opening Excel. He was demonstrating something. He was like literally dancing on the keyboard. So I was like, what is this magic? Why is this person like flipping through different Excel sheets like it's nothing? Like it's extension of his or her body. Oh, that was really incredible. So like and just reach out and just say, hey, can you give me like 5 to 10 minutes? Just show me, just teach me, show me the way. Yeah, it's not just like not just Excel, like things like Bloomberg or PowerPoint. You might be surprised that there are actually a lot of tricks that people are using. These are some of the technical skill sets that if you have it, if you internalize it, it really gives a lot of dividends throughout the years. Yeah. So identify the guys your mentors that can really help you. Yeah.
Okay, so to our next question, do you have any tips or tricks for research process, as there is a wide array of information out there? Can we have Kenneth to share?
Yeah, I think what's really helpful for me is to first of all identify what do you want to research first, the objective of your research, understand what kind of problem you're trying to solve. Then only from there, you can find out what data is actually relevant for the objective. So I think that's the short answer. Longer answer is more like when you look at there's so many data out there, right? I think through practice you understand which data is more relevant and which one is more credible, which one makes more sense, right? And there are actually a lot of information out there. There are blogs, there are podcasts, there are like research portals, there are like the research analyst reports and whatnot. But what's most important is for you to be able to categorize all the information you get. For example, if you want to look at a particular industry, you look at number one, you look at the market, you look at who are the competitions in the market, you look at who are the biggest, who are the smallest, and then when you look at competition, if you have time, you do some benchmarking, you see they have bigger margins, right? And then you try to understand why. So that's for the market. Then you look at the company you want to research itself. You look at in a way when you read a particular article or not, try to identify like what you want to find out, right? You want to find out like what's the competitive advantage of this company, what makes it so interesting, and what is the potential issue about the company. So you categorize all the information, right? What's good about a company, what's bad about a company. Then eventually you can fit in more data into the buckets of things that you have. Then it will allow you to kind of like, when someone asks you a question, or you'll be able to tell people, okay, this is the issue about this company, or this is what's good about this company. So I think that's the way I look at it.
For me, right, I think a lot of the reports that we read or whatnot, when you first started, let's say you're new to a certain sector and you want to learn about, say, data centers because it's been so hot, right? So you want to do some work on data centers. But the first problem I face is always the reports are always answering questions that you do not have. So the first step is to have a basic understanding first. Like you talk about data centers, but we go back to the first principles. What is a data center? What does it do? How does it make money? Like what are the players out there? Like to make a data center, what do you need? You need land, you need electricity, you need the servers themselves. Okay, so once you have the data center, so what is it being used for? Who wants it? And who are the suppliers that produces the hardware, or who's involved in the value chain? So before, just try to go back to first principles when you're ever confused. Just go back to very basic stuff. Maybe when you read a report, it's telling you, oh, because of this, it's like this. But it may be a little bit too advanced. So maybe you pin that report first, revisit it later, like establish like what's the core of it. Like, I think nowadays the social media is very very good because like you can go to YouTube, or I think some of the juniors even told me that he or she learned something from TikTok. Yeah, like industry related, because they really summarize like a certain industry into like 4 or 5 minutes videos, or maybe animations. Like some would create animations of certain tech related stuff on the internet. But just take it with a grain of salt. Like whether you read something, don't 100% believe everything first. Just put a mental note like, okay, article A claims this. Okay, so that might be a possibility. Don't take it 100% first. But if you see the same thing being claimed by multiple sources, it gets more and more credible. But it's still not 100% true yet. You probably need to sit down and really digest and combine different sources. Then you get a better, like more comprehensive view on what is actually happening in this particular sector or industry. Yeah, that's roughly the way I do my research. Yeah.
I can also add a bit more. I think be helpful for people who's just in the industry, right? When you sort of like store your information, you create folders, right? You create a lot of folders, right? Make sure you categorize it in a way where when you want to access it, you know how to do it. For example, you would categorize things like, oh, this is particular information about the market, about the industry, who the players in there, and then you talk about like these are like the specific value chain, or this is like information about the company. Then what about the company, right? If there's certain research that's been done by external party, you label that external party. Something that you've done yourself, you put yourself. If there's certain you've done a presentation, then you create another folder for that, and then you label it accordingly. Like it's like 1.1 is what, 1.2 is what, and you create like a standard for each project you do a standard. So when you try to access the information in the future, it'd be much easier. And also it's also very helpful for your seniors as well, or other people who's trying to work together with you to create a folder that is actually pretty standardized, pretty easy to understand.
Yeah, okay. So there's another question here about AI tools. It says, what are the recommended AI tools can be used to learn financial knowledges and how to access to financial reports or analyst reports, which will be helpful for study purposes?
I mean AI tools to learn financial knowledge.
Yeah,
I
sensitive.
guess I guess what one of the things that I actually did when I was studying was CFA, right, is to just to use ChatGPT. So you ask a very basic question. Say maybe you ask like what's the impact to the labor market if I raise interest rates? Yeah, something like if you need it off the top of your head and you can't find which page in your textbook or you just don't want to read, you can try that and that can give you an answer, but don't trust it 100% yet. You take that idea and you look back, you fact check with other sources. I think that's one way you can use AI to learn financial knowledge. And for access to analyst reports or financial reports, right, I think unfortunately a lot of the good ones are only restricted to the people in the industry, because this is where the sell side research, that is their business, right? They want to sell their reports to the users. I'm not too familiar with what's available out there for which is openly available. Yeah, maybe Kenneth, you have some idea.
Yeah, I think because I just past that sort of era in terms of like learning financial knowledge, but I don't think there's much AI tool that I know, but I definitely believe there's a lot of sort of like financial modeling courses, like finance courses and whatnot to actually help you. And what would actually be very helpful is to read like Bloomberg or read. I know it's paywall, but there are certain like maybe Wall Street Journal or even The Edge, right? To kind of understand what's going on in the world and kind of understand the impact of it. Because the AI tool may be telling you like, okay, if this happens, interest rate go down, this is what's going to happen to the market and whatnot. But it doesn't give you the insights of or the reasoning to come to the reasoning, to the judgment. I mean, so you still have to do a lot of like reading as a finance professional. And personally also, I think for me, we do a lot of I do a lot of reading, like uh and a lot of like listening to podcasts and whatnot to truly understand. And which is why I mean, like if you talk like podcasts, they are like Acquired. There's one podcast called Acquired. I think they're very interesting way. They have a very interesting way of presenting the history of certain companies to you, like Microsoft or Apple, right? I think that would be a good starting point for you to build the branches within your head, in terms of like trying to understand a particular issue, right? I think that's for my view.
I would say, yeah, just to add, right, I think don't try to keep thinking of getting shortcuts, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are some things that there are no shortcuts, right? Like kind of we have to go through the process of really learning. I mean, if there are ways that you can do it faster, yeah, I think that's where the mentors would really help. They can guide you. They can guide you down the path, but they can't hold your hand and go through it. You still need to be the person that really go through the journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving to the next question. Is the CFA program only allowed for finance industry people? And is there any tips on preparing for CFA exams?
I think I'll go with this first. There are no restriction, I think, for CFA. I think as long as you finish your undergraduate program, if I'm not wrong, I think some Adeline can probably correct me on this, but it's not meant for only finance people, because I know people who are like in audits or in compliance or in any other function that's non-finance that's also still doing CFA. So it's yeah, it's not restricted. In terms of tips, I'm proud to say that I'm a last minute guy. So for example, like for I think my CFA level 3, I studied for 2 months to pass it. So there are tips and tricks. There are shortcuts to this other than AI. Number one is understand whether you can actually cram the information in your brain. Number two is you need to understand how familiar you are. So it's balancing between if you are the strengths and weaknesses, right? If you know you can do it, you can do it. Okay, so how do you do it right? My tips and tricks is if you look at the textbook, there are always questions behind at the end of the chapter for the textbook. Do all of it. Whatever exam question you get, do on it. And then in terms of like how you can accelerate your learning, there is a way to accelerate learning, which is to get a tutor, right? And there are a lot of resources out there. I can't recommend any of them because they're so long ago. But there's one that I went where there's like intensive revision. It's very good in terms of like kind of refreshing information, and also they got sort of tips in terms of like how to solve a particular question. That will increase your chances in terms of like passing the exam. So that's my view. Yeah.
Yeah, for the studying tips, right? I think for me personally, it's either you get a prep provider. So I think, and not that I can recommend any, but I think the one that I went to was Noesis. But I believe there are others also. Like they have literally like lecturers that would really guide you and through for this whole program. But what really helped me, I think, it's when I start reading, right? Just have a quick read through the reading first, then go straight to the questions. I think if you spend too much time reading without doing the questions, then when you go to the questions, like, is this really what I read? Like, why is this different? Yeah. So then you're not really absorbing it until you can answer the questions. So first glance, like quicker glance through the question, the reading material, go straight to the questions. So if you can't answer it, then go back to the main reading, get enough knowledge to answer that question and move on. And whatever questions that they have on the online portal, make sure you do all of them at least once. I think I went through like 2 times for the questions. That was really, at least that study method worked for me. Yeah. And all the best.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for both of you. And I hope all your questions have been well addressed to the audience. And to the attendees, let's now take a group picture together, and please turn on
wait,
your webcams now.
Adeline?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, before that, maybe we can have both speakers to share some key takeaways for this for today's session. Yeah. Maybe we can start with Kenneth.
Yeah, I think generally my key takeaway is don't be worried that AI will take over your job. I think like one of the participant mentioned, right, is to augment your skill sets. And I believe that it's the same for everyone. I think you just need to work hard. You need to find which areas where you can actually improve yourself and then build upon that. Any skill set is, as a finance professional, you need to be well versed in a lot of areas, and make sure that you don't just focus on one area. Focus on many. Okay, not I wouldn't say focus, but try to build a skill set in many different areas. I think it will be very very helpful in the long term of your career.
Yeah, for me, I think it's make sure you have core skill sets. You master your core skill sets. Be a person that can do the work and build a personal brand. People know you for something. Yeah, be it maybe the dependable guy, the responsible guy that can get things done. And that should be the bedrock of your career. And then let the momentum bring you forward. Yeah. Don't worry too much about AI. like be out there, just read just try to know a little bit about everything. And if there's any AI tools that you want to use, just use it. I'm assuming your company allows it. Yeah.